Welcome to DDL, where we discuss everyday topics like current events and or controversial points of view. This is Noel. I'm Void. First things first, shout out to our sponsor, Candle Time. Head over to the link in the description to purchase a candle today.
I was just thinking. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sweet deal. All right. Welcome to Fan Favorite Fridays. I'm going back to that name because we are struggling actually getting the girls that are supposed to be coming on to be held accountable and actually show up. It's kind of, yeah, I'm not going to go too much into that one.
I mean, if a girl's young and single, she's, probably got 1,000 things that interest her. So
Yeah.
hey, what are you going to do?
Fair. So we teased this a little bit on Monday's episode. So
Yeah.
you want to jump into it and give your background or like your evolution, or do you want to start with the evolutions, or how do you want to start this one? Because this conversation this is going to dive into a lot of crazy stuff, and I guarantee we're not going to agree.
Okay.
Not because I don't think you're wrong. I'll think you're right, but I am going to be approaching it from a policy position versus a moral position.
Okay. Right.
And I'm assuming you're going to be more from a moral position, which should influence the policy position.
Yeah. And ultimately, I'm also realistic. Hey, what can we do as a country? Because, we've allowed, abortion in our country for 60 plus years. And so to just now all of a sudden go, hey, we're turning that off now. I get it. That's not something that we can just go back to. And as much as they want to make it like the handmaid's tale, it's not exactly that. But hey, I understand.
Well,
that.
there are some states that are a complete ban, and there's other states that are doing it's a complete ban except for certain instances.
Right.
And then there's other states that are like it's a ban after X amount of weeks.
Right.
And then there's other states like the one you used to live in where you can literally terminate as it's coming out of the womb.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
We have a wide range of what is acceptable in the U.S. right now.
Right. And that's where what is my moral position versus what is my policy position. I think those things will be different because, look, my standards, my morality, I can't put that on everybody. But I can also go, you know what, we can do better as a nation to be more moral and to set the standard higher for ourselves to where, we're not just and the biggest problem, I'll go back to what we talked about before, it is men not being willing to be men that are fathers, that are
100%.
taking care of their own responsibilities. Hey, if you're willing to do the deed, be willing to take care of the responsibility.
100%.
And that's one of the biggest failings right out of the gate is on men. It's not just the men because it takes two to tango, so to speak. But ultimately, for me, it's a very much a make sure that you know what you're getting into. And as much as we want to say, oh, well, it's an educational problem, they just don't have the information. That may have been true years and years ago, but it's not true anymore.
I am going to push back a little bit on you, though.
Sure.
You're saying men are part of the problem, and I'm not going to disagree with you on that. What I am going to disagree with you on is I don't think we can make the claim that it's upon men are part of the problem when men have been ostracized from the conversation or are trying to be ostracized from the conversation.
Well, and that's part of the problem too on both sides. I know. Well, no vagina, no opinion. It's like, okay, that's great. So we're not allowed to have an opinion on anything that comes to the morality of people because of that. And
well, you're kind of hitting it on the head though.
Yeah.
Is you're approaching it from a morality stance, which is what I would say men should have an opinion on that because it is a moral stance.
Yeah.
Where they're coming at it is more of a practical sense. Like it's not your body, so shut up.
I agree, but guess what? It's also not her body. Because the baby, if the baby gets terminated, the woman would also die. And there's a meme that I actually pointed out to a doctor, a friend that I know who's a doctor, and he is pro-choice. And I've sent him the meme a couple of times, and it's got the outline. It says, the baby's body inside your body is not your body. And that's where, hey, look, I get that your healthcare decisions are yours, but after a certain point, where do we say, okay, here's the line where we can establish this is a functioning human being. This is a separate life. And not only is it a separate life, it's actually forming. It's actually got a heartbeat. It's actually got limbs growing. It's actually got hair a nervous system. And at some point, the more science grows, the less favorable the abortion position is
100%.
for pro-choice.
I do
because
agree with
we
you there.
see the science of, wow, this thing's living and functioning. Yeah.
I 100% agree with you on that.
Right.
As the science had, which is one reason why my evolution actually happened. I used to be pro-choice up to whatever. You do what you think is best.
Right.
You and your doctor, you talk about it.
Right.
And there's two things that changed. One is the science got better and my understanding of it got better.
Yes.
The second portion of it is as I grew older and I had children of my own, I realized the excitement that went along with it.
Right.
So while I said, like, I think we're going to have different positions, you're kind of hitting my position right away, which is, when does a life become a life?
Right.
Morally, I would say a life begins at conception.
Agreed. And actually, there's quite a few textbooks, including Yale University, Harvard University, and quite a few other medical textbooks that would agree with that position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, however, my moral position on that is going to be in my belief with my partner.
Sure.
Right? Hey, are we in a position to, one, provide for this child, take care of it, two, taking into her account her expectations, because, pregnancies do a number on a woman's body.
Sure.
They have a miraculous gift that men will never understand or have the ability to actually do, which is create life.
Right.
So my personal thought is while I am more pro-life than I've ever been in my life, there has to be a reasonable amount of time, I believe, where the morality differences between people can. I'm trying to put a hard line in the sand, in the gray sand that is abortion.
Sure.
So in my mind, it's somewhere between 6 and 12 weeks.
Yeah, I would say as soon as there's a heartbeat, we kind of have liftoff there. Like it's as far as policy goes. Now, as far as morality goes, absolutely at the moment of conception. And again, science backs that as well. But and you did bring up something that was interesting. It was are we financially or are we ready to have a child? And as I mentioned before, as a product of adoption and the kind graces of other people, I don't think that that's as much of a valid excuse. My mother is the product of adoption. She was born to a young high school couple that was not ready, and I won't say how long ago, but it was a while back, and it was really frowned upon. Like, if you had a child, you kept it in that time.
Yeah.
Now, they were kind of the exception. Now, she found an adoptive family who took her on, and it was their kindness, which is why I'm here today. But if that was not around, then who knows what would have happened. And then on the flip side, on my father's side of the table, my grandmother was found in a dumpster.
Okay.
And it was in the 1920s and was likely the result of, they think, from somebody who was a prostitute and just was like, hey, throw this baby away and go on with life. And somebody was walking by and heard a baby crying in a dumpster and took her to an orphanage. So again, it's, well, we can't afford it. It's not feasible. Those sort of things for me, I obviously have a strong emotional tie to that, but it is, hey, both of those people were not in a position where they were ready to have a kid. And so when we excuse, as a culture, not saying you specifically, but as a culture, when we excuse, well, the financial situation doesn't work out as a reason to end a human life. It's like, man, if both of those things wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't be sitting here today because of the kindness of strangers.
So I will push back. I'm not trying to excuse. What I'm trying to say is that's a conversation point that my partner and I would have to have. Are we financially
Sure.
ready, right?
Sure.
And my personal stance is, if I'm not financially ready to have this child, I am going to do everything I can in the next 8 to 10 months to make ourselves ready.
Right.
But I'm saying that conversation is a part of the abortion conversation.
Right.
And unfortunately, you are right. It is used as an excuse.
Yes. I have had friends that have used abortion as birth control. People say it never happens. I've seen people who not only used abortion as birth control, but also laughed about it.
Yeah.
And
I
to
know
me,
people like
that
as
sort
well.
of thing was heartbreaking. And that was one of the things
Oof.
that started my journey of awakening. It's like, like, okay, I get it. It's a heartbreaking, terrible thing for you to walk through as a couple. You've done it 3 times now, and you're laughing about it. And that was kind of the trigger point for me. It's like, because of my lifestyle and because I was promiscuous, I favored being pro-choice.
Well,
why? Because it benefited me, and I was being very selfish.
You're hitting on a very good point, which is abortion, being pro-choice, does not benefit women. It actually benefits men.
Yes.
Because now they can have unprotected sex
Yep.
without a fear.
Yep.
Whereas this gets back to the accountability that you were saying that men have to have.
Right.
Which is, if you have sex and you get a woman pregnant, you are responsible for it.
Yes.
There is no, I 100% understand that point of view, because I agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm always going to I'm always going to push back on, I can't fully go to pro-life. Abortion needs to be outlawed. And the reasoning why is because there are exceptions that have to be made.
Yes. Yes.
In cases of rape, in cases of incest. I hate to say it, but I hate to say it like this, but there has to be a hard line in the sand, and it can't be at the point of conception.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're never going to get everyone to agree to the point of conception.
No, and we're not in a culture that is going to allow for that. And honestly, you're gonna. For me, what's morally right versus what we can do as a nation, that's why again I go to 2 different conversations. In my heart of hearts, do I wish everybody was moral and had that same line? Yes, but I'm not delusional enough to think that kids aren't gonna, teenagers and young adults aren't going to be like, they're gonna be having sex.
Yeah.
It's just gonna happen, even in Christian households. So
biological drive.
Right, absolutely. And so with that, it's like, okay, how do we make it so that this is not a form of birth control, and this isn't like something that we think of as a normal thing. It's something that we do. Hey, even in making the decision, we grieve over, because we admit this is a human life. Mm-hmm. And so again, that's where finding that common ground, for me, heartbeat would be that hard line. Morally, again, I go back to conception, but it's ultimately it's up to all of us as men and women, as parents, as brothers and sisters, as aunts and uncles, to really impress the importance of, hey, this is a human being here. Mm-hmm. This is something we all need to value, because I think that goes to the bigger conversation. We talked about being a high value man, being a high value woman. If we don't value the most innocent among us, how is that going to work out? If you're going to tell me out of your mouth that I'm a valuable person, but then you're like, well, it's just a clump of cells, and ultimately, I look at your stance on that clump of cells, and I'm like, what's different from me and that clump of cells?
Nothing, because you are a clump of cells.
Exactly.
That's all an organism is.
Yes.
So
yeah, I think the bigger picture is, if we all value human life more, it's going to be better for all of society, mm-hmm. and not just on the abortion debate. It's going to be better for, like we talked about, the suicide rate of men. It's going to be better for men to know that all human life is valuable. It's going to be better for women. Also, it's going to be better for children.
You hit on it right. It is going to be better for women. So there is studies that show that women that are now in their 40s, 50s, and 60s that focused on career, did not have families, shouted their abortions. Like what's that chick that did that? Like
the actress Busy Phillips.
I think she's one of them. There was
Yeah.
another one that I was thinking of. Chelsea something. Chelsea
Was it Chelsea Handler?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
But they're so excited about it, and I'm just
Right.
like, your women have reported the highest levels of unhappiness in their 40s, 50s, and 60s that are childless, that are husbandless.
Yeah.
Women derive happiness from family units.
Right.
Men, while we do drive happiness from family units as well, we have an ability that women typically don't have, which is we can also drive happiness out of creation. Like, so we take happiness from being able to create, like, do good in our jobs or something like that. We can fulfill happiness in that regard, whereas women typically struggle to fill that happiness that way.
Right. And that's where I as from the Christian perspective, I would also reframe it as when we find our highest fulfillment and satisfaction in Him, then we're less likely to be fulfilled by even these good ancillary things like family, and for men, like career, like creativity. Those are great things, but when we have the proper perspective of God first, then that kind of informs our morality when it comes to everything.
So I've always liked that. Oh God, my buddy Josh showed this to me, and I can't remember how it goes. Basically, it's like an umbrella. And underneath the umbrella is God.
Right.
And underneath that, you have the man
Right.
standing over the woman, protecting the woman.
Right.
And then underneath the woman, protecting, or what she's protecting is the
Right.
children.
Right.
And I'm just like, it's a powerful image, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Again, I just have that issue with calling it that.
Calling it,
God.
oh,
Per
got you,
se.
got you. Yeah.
Right. There is a higher power.
Right.
What that higher power is, I don't know. It could
Yeah.
be a fourth dimensional being. It could be a fifth dimensional being. It could be an alien. I don't know. All I know is you look at the world and the order, the structure that is there, the laws, like the laws of physics, the laws. I mean, to me, science and religion are two sides of the same coin.
Right.
One is the belief, and one is the explanation.
Right.
So obviously there's something there that is evident. You can look around the world and see it.
Right.
What that is, though, I don't think I'm in a position where I'm comfortable enough to have someone tell me what that is.
Sure.
Nor do I think I'm smart enough to tell anyone what that is.
Well, I don't think I'm smarter than anybody. Sorry, that was bugging me. I don't think I'm smart enough to tell anybody what that is, but I just know from my personal experience of what God has done for me. To me, that informs what that being is. And because that being has been interactional with me, has spoken to me, has changed my life, has got me back on the right track, God spoke to me and said, you need to go back to church. And I followed that. And it reaped so many benefits. Later on, I heard God speak again and say, you need to stop drinking. Now, as a man who used to be an alcoholic, drinking at least a fifth a day, yeah, some things needed to change there. That's not a sustainable lifestyle. And ultimately, it's my faith in Jesus Christ that helps to inform me of my morality. Now, I understand your hesitancy to put a name on it. But for me, with that picture of the umbrella of God first, the man as the head over that, and then the woman, and then the children, if you're unable to really explain who that being is or put any sort of name on it, who then is it that you're worshiping? And then ultimately, as a man, I think it's important to protect and guard our wives and our children, our families. But if we put the wife and the children up on a pedestal, we get that whole order wrong, and it can come crashing down because we've now made an idol of our wife or our children. And so that's why I think that order is very important, having God first and foremost, and then us as the head of the household, which is biblical. It's Ephesians 4, men, love your wives and give your lives for them as Christ gave his life for the church. And so in that, sorry if I'm getting...
No, you're good.
Okay. That's where for me, I look at that and I'm like, for me to fully worship God, I need to be able to put something to it. And maybe that's just something in me, but also I felt the personal touch of God, and I have many other testimonies. Those are just two of the major ones that have happened throughout my life. And I believe that being, that force, that God, that interdimensional being, I believe he's relational, and I believe he loves each and every person, and I believe that he desires a closeness with everybody. And so with that, it's like, okay, this being cares about me. And that's the unique perspective of Christianity. So whereas most religions is us trying to get to that figure, Christianity is he came down to connect us to him. Yeah.
So I'm going to go back to that, the umbrella, the man and the woman.
Yeah.
So a lot of times their structure, a lot of the complaints is like, oh, men are not better than women.
Sure.
That picture is not actually trying to describe anyone being better.
Right.
What that's trying to describe is the order of protection.
Right.
That women are much more valuable than men, and men's duty is to make sure that they are protected.
Right.
Just like it's the duty of the mother and the father to protect the children.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, just a little off topic on that one. I
that's
get
good.
really sick of it when everyone keeps saying like, "Oh, like you're sexist or whatever," and you think men are better than women. No, we are not better than women.
Right.
But we have a duty to protect them.
Yes.
And that's
Absolutely.
that's all that it's ever trying to say. Sure, there are men out there who think that they are better.
Right.
Just like there's women out there that think they're better than men.
Sure.
There are all types of people in the world.
Yeah. And both are toxic. It's just, hey, we all have equal value in the eyes of God. We all matter equally to God. And I think that's the beautiful thing, is that when we respect and honor that, when it comes to our families, when it comes to the abortion topic, when it comes to that leads and guides the way we do everything, man, that's powerful. You know, I had a chance to share with a guy this week. I was driving by and he was homeless, and I didn't know it at the time, but I was driving by and I felt God say, you need to go talk to him. And I was like, but I'm going to breakfast. And then in the back of my mind, I went, I know if I don't go to talk to him, I'm going to regret it. Mm-hmm. And so I turned around and I went and talked with him, and he was homeless. He didn't have his kids, you know, and it was a heartbreaking story, but I was able to give him hope and let him know that he mattered. And I said, do you know how I know that you matter? He said, how? I said, because there's a God in heaven who spoke to me to stop my car and talk to you. I said, and I'm not that great of a person because I didn't even want to do it. I said, I wanted to go eat breakfast, so I'm not a good guy in this story. But that God told me that I needed to go and talk to you. So I turned the car around. And that's how much God cares about you specifically, is that he values you enough to take time to speak to me, to maybe pray for you. And I prayed for him, and I spoke with him about faith and stuff. And again, I go back to every human life is valuable. And when we all have that sensibility, and it's not just a platitude or a political football where we're using it for immigrants, or we're using it for the abortion debate, or we're using it as a political football to get what we want, but we actually mean it, I think that's a better society for everybody.
Oh, I 100% agree with you. We'd be much better off if we were a little more moral.
Yes.
Which is one thing that I've always appreciated about religion, is the sense of community that it drives. And it's also the sense of framework to show how you can actually have a fulfillful life.
Yes.
And not just for yourself, but for those around you.
Right.
So there's two things I want to move on to.
Yeah.
Which is, first is, well, actually, we'll touch this one section. Second, which is adoption. Because this adoption does tie directly into abortion.
Right.
And but before we move on there, smiling. So, where I'm going with this is,
Okay. I'm waiting.
So your story,
Yeah.
reminded me of something, which is humans smile, right? We recognize faces and whatnot.
Yeah.
So when people are having a bad day, I'm driving around town, I see someone walking, wave,
Yeah.
put a smile on the face.
Right.
Right. What I've noticed is when I do that, people will smile back.
Yeah.
People will wave back.
Right.
So now I'm not saying God's talking to me, right?
Sure.
What I'm saying is that I think ties into it, the kind of what you were saying, like I had a voice God told me to come and talk to you.
Yeah.
I think it's a moral thing to do, which is
Sure.
project happiness, project positivity back out into the world, and it improves people's lives because people go through some crap. Not everyone's having a great day all the time.
Right.
So being able to share
Yes.
a smile
Yeah.
might make someone who's having a really bad day have a little bit brighter every day.
Right. And I agree with that.
Dang it, lost that light.
That's all right. Nobody wants to see this face anyway. With that, and that's where for me it's like, yeah, I want to be able to make you smile. I want to be able to make you happy. But more than that, I want to see if I can bring you a little bit of everlasting joy, that you do matter, that you are valued, that there is purpose behind this. And I love that idea of smile and wave and let somebody know that they're loved, let somebody know that they're cared about. Again, even if non-believers did that, man, this country would be so much better off. We wouldn't be where we're at right now if we at least had some values we could agree on. But it seems like every side of the aisle, we're completely we can't even smile at them because they voted for whoever. Yeah.
So I before we move on to the adoption aspect of this, you just made me think of something. Okay, so biblically, Sodom and Gomorrah, right? And then there's the Tower of Babel, right? There's countless stories throughout the Bible, and even if you look at some of the other religious texts, there's countless stories about cities being destroyed.
Yeah,
and a lot of that I think actually is parallel in what we're seeing in today's day and age. Where are our high crime rates? In
most
cities,
larger cities, yeah,
right. What happens when we have these high population densities? People's nerves get frayed.
Sure.
The happiness that you're willing to express to another individual reduces because you are stressed. Right. So it's almost a call to action that I'm trying to make right now, which is put a smile on your face and wave.
Right.
I know my neighbors. I know people that live in cities that don't even talk to their neighbors, and they're a lot closer than my neighbor is to me.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, which is insane. I see them outside. We're
They share a
waving.
wall.
Yeah. They share a wall. They don't talk.
Right.
I have to walk like freaking, like 100 yards to
Yeah.
go talk to my neighbor.
Yeah.
Yet I go talk to him at least once a week.
Right.
It's.
Yeah. And it's funny because that principle is great. And even in our church, that's something I try to encourage people. Do what you can to get involved, to show your love and compassion for other people, especially as Christians. Because if you're doing that as somebody who doesn't necessarily believe in Jesus, how much more should we? We have hope. We have a message. We have something that we have given our lives to. And so, yeah, we should be sharing what's most important with us to our neighbors. We should be asking our neighbors questions. Hey, how are things going for you? When we go to the grocery store, don't just go to the grocery store. Go and look around. As you're getting butter, look around. Is there somebody I can talk to? Is there somebody who looks like they're really bummed out? Yeah, I can smile. I can give you a thumbs up. I can wave. But also, like, hey, let's have a conversation. Hey, how are you doing?
That's kind of how we met.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
And I had a guy. I'll never forget this. I had a guy in Winco. I got done working out at 2 a.m., close to 2 a.m., like 1:30, and because I like to work out late. So I got in line. And there was a gentleman who was behind me, and he smelled like booze, and he was buying beer.
Oh, okay.
And he was just breathing heavy, and I was like, all right. And I could have kept my back to him and ignored him, but I turned and I opened myself up, and I said, hey, man, how are you doing tonight? He said, bro, my brother I just found out he killed himself. Damn. And it's like, oh, okay. And I didn't make a big scene there, but out in front of the store, I was like, hey, man, can I pray for you? He's like, I would love that. And that's just it. If we're willing to ask questions with people, they're going to pour their heart out to you. And so I being invested enough to just talk to people, to just see how's your day going? What's going on? Even with our neighbors, sometimes as Christians, the hardest people for us to witness to are our neighbors. You want to know why? Because they see us at our worst moments. They see us when we drop something on our toe and we don't say, bless the Lord. It's they see who you are on a day-to-day basis. And they're like, so it's harder because who your character is in front of your neighbors, is that the same as when you are out in public? So
Yeah. Well, everyone probably just put on a mask to put their best selves forward,
Guilty. Yeah.
I mean, that's just human nature. We want to be accepted.
Yeah.
I mean, we're social creatures.
Yeah.
So I like that. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So
Adoption.
We could almost tie immigration into adoption as well, because they both have the same issue, which is way too much government interference.
Yeah.
But let's focus on adoption, right?
Yeah.
So one of the biggest pushbacks on the reason why abortion should be legalized is the simple fact that there are not enough people that want children, which is just not true.
Yeah. You're correct. It's not true.
That is not true at all.
Right.
Where the problem comes into play is the outrageous fees, lawyer fees, and government red tape that you have to get through in order to actually take care of a child that is not yours. Which just boggles my mind. But it doesn't actually boggle my mind, because the government's out there to steal money from the American people anyway.
Yes.
So they would much rather have a broken home and a child that has to get put into the foster systems so that they can take money from other citizens in order to care for that child while padding their own pockets.
Yes. It's
sorry.
You're 100% correct, and it's evil. And again, if adoption would have been that hard for my mother's parents, they wouldn't have been able to do it. If adoption would have been that hard for the whoever adopted my grandmother on my father's side, if it would have been that difficult, I don't know. And so, yes, exactly. Because the government has become involved, it's become a hard thing to do. Whereas before it was, you're going to pay a bit of a fee. To
like the orphanage.
Yes.
To help. You're basically supporting the orphanage.
Yes, exactly. And it's gone from that to, give us our cash, give us our money. Okay, we're going to charge you all these outrageous fees. And now it's like, okay, well, we could try to afford a child, but if we do, then we're now putting ourselves in debt just to have the child. And it's actually making it harder for that child to be in that home and for them to provide for it, because they've leveraged so much in assets just to get the right for the child. And I know two married couples who have not yet been able to have children. I'll say it that way. And they're still trying. And I asked them, hey, what about adoption? They said, we just can't afford it. Yeah.
That's just nuts.
Yeah.
There's so many children that need houses, and there's so many people willing to take them.
Yeah.
Yet our government gets in the way.
Yeah. And that's something, like I told you, if the woman that I'm looking for doesn't want to have physical children anymore, that's something where, for me, adoption's a passion of mine, because of the fact that if it wasn't for adoption, I'm not here. And so because of that, I want to help out that system as much as possible. I want to adopt as well. I want to give back to those who gave for me and my family, because weirdly enough, the people who biologically are tied to my lineage, I don't know them, and they don't matter to me. Because people who didn't know who we were and helped us off the street showed more love and kindness and compassion than people who were our actual descendants and bloodline. So when people are like, do you want to try 23andMe? No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because the people who are my family are the people who stepped up and took care of a life that was innocent. And if we got that back to that morality as a culture, we'd be better off.
My first step, same with the policy position. So I told you on Monday's episode, like, my reason why Roe v. Wade got turned over is probably not most people's position.
Sure.
And what I mean by that is I was ecstatic on the day that the Supreme Court overruled Roe v. Wade. I was happier than a pig in shit.
Yeah.
I mean, just super happy.
Oh, I celebrated.
It was great because my Daily Wire tumbler arrived in the mail the same day. Right? Serendipitous.
Right. Yes. Wow. Yeah. You're just like, anyone?
Audio output capture dropped.
There it goes.
Check.
Hold on. Yeah, you're working and I'm working. Okay, that was funky. Interesting. Interesting.
Is
But
the
look at the
video still on?
No, the camera got all jacked up. Hold on. Let me swap this out real quick. Did I do that wrong? What? Hold on.
Oh,
there
there
we
we
go.
go.
That came back.
We're back.
Wow, that was weird.
Yeah.
It didn't like what we were having
No,
to say.
no. YouTube is definitely involved in this.
So the reason I was ecstatic that Roe v. Wade dropped out was not because I was ecstatic that like, oh, states are going to ban abortion or
Right.
oh, they're going to go to the other extreme.
Right.
I was ecstatic because Roe v. Wade was an absolutely trash decision, and it was based on the simple fact that there is no enumerated power given to the federal government in any way, shape, or form on abortion.
Right.
Which means it is 100% a 10th Amendment issue, which it means it belongs to the states.
Right.
So with the Supreme Court overruling it, we actually got a win for the Constitution.
Right.
That's why I was happy.
Right. But and morally I celebrated because the Bible talks about there being curses, like you talked about Sodom and Gomorrah. The Bible talks about there's curses on the land, and when innocent blood is shed, there's also a curse that falls upon the land. And could a lot of the economic ruin that we're looking at, and a lot of this stuff where we're like, man, we're far apart on morality and all, that probably is an actual curse upon the land. Okay. And so when you look at that sort of perspective, it's one of those, like, I think it's good for us morally for it to be kicked back to the states and to not just wholesale go. Our nation's stance is abort any baby, anytime, anywhere, no matter what. And now the state stance of our nationwide policy is we're going to let the states decide it. And that's the way it should always be. Local governments governing local bodies.
Yep.
That to the state level and down to the county level and down to the the municipality level.
Yeah.
That's where it should be, because what works in New York doesn't work here.
No.
Why? Because they have different systems. They have different infrastructure.
They have
they
different
function
demographics.
completely
They have different
differently.
per capita.
Right.
Right. I mean, they're you're 100% right. They
Yeah.
are completely different.
Yeah. And not just morally. Like, just if you tried to do public transportation where we live, it wouldn't work.
No.
Because there's just not enough people to support it.
Yep.
So, yeah, we don't need these big entities, nationwide entities, decide.
What is going on?
Connection within the Stream Deck itself.
Well, it's not the Stream Deck. We're losing everything.
Well, we lost the
video.
light first.
Yeah, which is not plugged into the computer, so that one's not an issue.
I don't know.
Let me just swap it back. We are using the backup computer still. I do need to get the normal. The other one has way better processing power.
It might be low on memory as well.
Yeah, that's more than likely what's happening.
Yeah.
Our conversations today have been pretty good, and we're going a little bit longer consistently on all of them.
Yeah.
So the nice thing is it's still recording. It's just we're losing all of the ancillary things.
Yeah. Well, if you trimmed out the fat, I'd really appreciate that. That'd be good for me.
Same here.
Yeah.
I had dropped over 100 pounds, and then this last week,
right, yeah.
This last week I have not been good.
No.
And I need I'm going to have to just start redoubling my efforts.
Yeah. Literally just got the Fitbit. It's been a game changer for me because I didn't realize how many calories I was burning. And it's been such an encouragement because I get on the elliptical. It's like I'm working for 20 minutes. It's like, you burned 45 calories. I get on the treadmill for half an hour. It's like, you burned 53 calories. And I'm like, so I burned an Oreo in 50 minutes? Like, what the heck? And then I check this thing out, and it's like, no, you actually burned like 3,000 calories. And I'm like, okay, good. That makes me want to keep going. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
So, abortion,
Yes.
government needs to get out of.
Yes.
Now, the reason
Federal
why
government
the
needs
federal
to get
government
out.
gets
Yeah.
out of, Now, local church organizations,
Sure.
all those, I think, should be involved in
Yeah.
it. And they're going to be much better at running it, and
Yeah.
you're going to trim off the fat.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I say I think you can tie immigration into the abortioning
Right.
is because it's the same issue. Government is involved, and the
Right.
rules are so stupid to the point where we have basically an open border on our southern border.
Right.
We just have mass immigrants coming in with no accountability.
Yeah.
However, there are people I personally know that would want to come to the U.S. legally
Yep.
that are barred per se,
Yeah.
right? So our immigration processes,
Because they've done it the right way.
because they're trying to do it the right way,
Right.
they're going through and they can't make it.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, just jump on a plane
It's
and fly
so
to
bad.
freaking the border and just walk across. You'll
Yeah.
be fine.
It's so backwards. Yeah. Hey, are you coming here for any reason and we have no idea whatsoever? Yeah, come on in. Hey, are you trying to come here for a work visa or a travel visa or anything like that? We're gonna review it and we're gonna reject it, and you got to get out.
And it's gonna. It might take you 2-3 years to actually get qualified.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
How does it
It's-
make sense? Literally,
Yeah.
just jump on a plane, fly to Tijuana, and walk across the border. Fuck, I'll pick you up in San Diego.
Right. Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's dumb. So, but again, it goes back to it's the same issue. Our federal government is run by a bunch of bureaucrats who just want to line their pockets and their friends' pockets.
Well, and the immigration, issue is a financial issue, and it's one of those things that they celebrate it and they want to be sanctuary cities, and then I loved what Governor Abbott did, where he's like, okay, I'm sending them to New York, I'm sending them to San Francisco, and they're like, you can't do that. He's like, why? We never said we were a sanctuary city. You did. And the sanctuary cities are getting upset.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we can't bear this burden. I heard the governor of New York say, it's like, you can't bear this burden? The mayor of New York, excuse me.
Yeah.
You can't bear this burden? You're the second biggest city in America, and you can't bear this burden. But you expected a small town in Texas to bear that burden, and you didn't care because you didn't have to look at it or see it. And now that it's in their face, it's a lot more obvious. Like, look, this isn't a sustainable way to live, and this isn't a sustainable way for us as a country. Look, I know the great replacement theory, but hey, even if we bring in a bunch of people to work and to replace because we're not having enough children, which again goes to the value of life, that's not sustainable in and of itself.
But you kind of hit on it too. You said it doesn't go back to the value of life.
Yeah.
But the open immigration that we have on our southern border also is not value to life.
Right.
Because how many of the young girls that are going through there are being violated?
Come on. Yeah.
Right. How
Yeah.
many people are risking their child's lives walking through all that heat,
Yes.
trying to make it right?
Yeah.
So what they're doing is actually not human value at all in any
Right.
way, shape, or form. They're actually devaluing them by saying, well, yeah, if you die or you get whatever happens to you, we don't really care. It's a political football for us.
Yes. Yeah. And that's where, going back to, okay, well, we have these immigrants coming in and we have to take care of them. It's like, yeah, I understand that, but not everybody gets to live everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to travel anywhere in the world, including, guess what, going the opposite way on the border down to Mexico, I have to check in. I have to have papers. I have to have documents.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where I go in the world except Antarctica. I have to have papers.
Mm-hmm.
I have to prove who I am. I have to prove that I'm not a liability, that I'm not going to harm your own citizens.
You just made me think of something. Voter ID requirement.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's a good thing?
At a bare minimum, we should require ID to vote.
So I was talking with a person.
If you can't, I've heard the argument, but they can't afford it. But they can't. I'm sorry. If you can't afford $40 a year for an ID, you don't get to vote. You have proven that you have proven to me that you think voting doesn't matter. So,
what I think's hilarious is, and you kind of hit on this, is these liberal elites, these white liberal elites. Yeah. They say you can't have them show ID because it's racist.
Right.
Like, to me, that is the most racist thing you can say. Are you saying that because of a person's skin color, because they have a different skin color than you, that they can't figure out how to do what you can do?
Right.
Like, you are racist as hell.
The basics of life. Let me tell you something. I used to be a bartender. Black people can get an ID. Because if they want to show up to Applebee's and have some Hennessy and have some Ciroc and enjoy themselves, guess what? They have to present an ID. So if they can get it together to get an ID so that they can get drunk, hey, and hey, no judgment there. If they can do that, then they can do it to vote for their country. And so exactly, it's you're black, so we don't think that you're responsible enough to get an identification card or a driver's license. Look, you make time for what's important to you, and you set aside money for what's important to you. And look, if IDs were $500, I'd go, yeah, maybe we should do something about that. Mm-hmm. But $50 over the course of mine was 50. I don't renew it for 4 years.
I think mine was good for 10 years, and I think I paid like 70.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
Like,
it's not even a yearly fee.
No.
It's close to $10 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should have an ID to vote.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I
was talking with someone that doesn't live in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking their political system,
Yeah.
and kind of getting an understanding of that. And I said, well, how often do you vote? And they're just like, well, every 4 years. And I said, but do you have to use ID? Well, yeah. How else do they know who you are? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's interesting.
Well, and look, I don't know how. I'm not going to talk about fraud in votes, but let me just say this. When I lived in Denver in 2020 during the pandemic, guess what? I had 5 different mailers sent to me from people who used to live at that address to vote.
Wow.
One of them was for me. The other 4 were for people that I just was randomly getting mail from. And guess what they required? That you log in, that you, not even that you log in, that you sign it and you send it back, and then you're registered to vote, and then they send you a mail-in ballot, and then you fill it out. Guess what? The drop box for that vote after 8 p.m. was not manned. So if you went to drop off your vote after 8 p.m., if I wanted to, I could have mailed in 5 votes because they weren't checking IDs.
But if you would have done Donald Trump, you would have been in prison.
Oh, they would have flagged me for sure.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't do it.
Yeah.
No, but
if you would have done Donald Trump, that's fraud.
And sure, that's
you did it for Biden.
Right.
Hey,
yes.
Good job, buddy.
Well, and again, that's one antidote.
I'm sorry. I'm not saying that happened. I am being facetious, guys.
Yes. And again, that's one anecdote in one city, in one address. Who knows? Maybe I was the anomaly and it didn't happen anywhere else. Or, who knows? But for me, it was just like, okay, there was definitely something fishy there where I'm like, it's this easy? You guys aren't going to check anything? You're not going to see if the person actually lives here?
Signature verification.
Okay, I can sign my name with my right hand, with my left hand. I could have a friend sign one.
I'm just saying, that's your. They verified your signature.
Sure. And I'm sure they were diligent about it.
Well, you heard about the Carrie Lake thing down in Arizona, right?
Yeah, I was
with the ballots being printed on the format, or they were printed on the wrong size of paper.
Oh,
either the formatting was changed slightly and was the right paper, or the paper was, I can't remember exactly the specifics.
Yeah,
but she actually proved that in court.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that's right. And so many of these lawsuits drop off afterward. Mm-hmm. They're like, sorry, prove it next time. Well, it's like, but we didn't see the things happening.
You remember Bill Barr?
Yes.
Is it Bill Barr? The Attorney General, right?
So. Yeah.
I was getting him confused with the freaking comedian, man.
No,
his name's Barr too.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think it is Bill Barr.
Or maybe that's Bill Burr that I'm thinking of. That's the comedian.
Maybe it is. I don't know.
I don't freaking know.
Last name's Barr.
Yeah. Attorney General under Trump, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So what always pissed me off when he did this thing, and he's just like, we looked into it and there was not fraud, and I'm just like, well, hold on, dude, hold on. you're looking at it in each individual case, right? And this is the part that I thought Trump screwed up on when he was trying to do this.
Right.
Sure, each individual case in this county, and then in this county, and then in this county, and this municipality, whatever, those didn't open up enough to change that county. But if you looked at the entire state and you combined all those together, that did open it up enough to change the outcome, right? And I'm just like, you guys are looking. So when he said that, it always pissed me off. I'm just like, well, yeah, that one wouldn't have changed it in there. But if you combine this one with this one and this one and this one, it would have changed that state's.
Right. Well, and that's where I go back to, look, for YouTube's sake, I'm not saying there was widespread voter fraud, but also, isn't it interesting that pizza boxes were used? Never mind. Wait. Wasn't it also interesting that in, I believe it was Wisconsin, a water valve broke, and so they had to stop counting ballots. And
Madison,
it turns out,
right?
and it turns out no water valve broke. And as soon as they said they were stopping counting ballots and people went away, they started counting them immediately after. And this happened in several different counties where they said, we are done counting for the night. You can go to bed, rest easy.
And then you wake up.
Nobody is counting ballots. And I'm a late person. So I go to bed at 2 a.m. and there's no action going on for 2 or 3 hours. Turns out they were counting the ballots during that time. And again, we have the graph with the straight up with Biden. And it's like, America went to bed thinking Donald Trump had won the presidency, and we woke up to a different result. That should be concerning. And guess what? If it was the opposite, if I went to bed and I thought Biden was going to be our next president, and I wake up and there's a spike and Trump is ahead, guess what? I would immediately go, there's something fishy going on here. I may like the result, but I'm still going to go, this does not add up, quite literally.
Well, so you remember back, God, what's that retard's name? President under 9/11. God, I don't like him.
W?
Yeah, W. Junior.
Hey, he's not an idiot, okay? He just wants to make sure he can put food on his family.
Yeah. I'm pretty
One
sure.
of his many gaffes. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure his IQ is slightly above being, I can't say
warm
the word.
buttered toast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. That guy. He's an idiot.
Although, looking back, that shoe dodge, man, that was impressive. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Now that you're saying it.
He just matrixed that thing. That was awesome.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. Oh, God.
I think he maintained eye contact, too. He was like...
So back when he did that and his brother Jeb was governor of Florida.
Yes.
And he was running against Gore.
Yes.
That climate freak out.
Yeah.
Oh, God. We're not going to get into that one.
Hey, he invented the internet. This whole thing's happening because of Al Gore.
Oh,
so.
that's right. That's right.
Yes.
Much love, dude.
There you go.
Much love.
Thank you.
No, but so Jeb and the Bushes are just stupid people.
Yes.
But Florida had all that big fiasco, right?
Yes.
And Bush ended up winning because of Florida's recount and whatnot, right?
The hanging chads. Yeah, all that.
Yeah. So after that, Florida buckled down.
Yes.
And now instead of being one of the last to report, even though they're one of the first to vote, they're like one of the first to vote and usually the first to report.
Right.
I'm just like, if Florida can go from having that big of a fiasco in 2000 and have it fixed by 2004, or was it 2008, whatever, within 4 or 8 years, had that thing completely turned around where they're now the best in it and require voter IDs.
Right.
I'm pretty sure every other state in the damn country can do it because I'm not too impressed with Florida's intelligence.
Right. Well, and looking back on so many different cases, like, I'm so old school, I want to go back to hand tabulated ballots with a Republican, a Democrat, and an independent sitting there watching over. I don't care if we got to wait 2 months to get election results. I know that's not cool with the digital age and wanting to know everything right now. I would rather get it correct than leave it up to a voting machine that legitimately has the potential to be hacked, that legitimately has the potential to misread votes. And look, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I would prefer to go back to let's count them up, let's make sure it's fair and square. I'm fine with that. And I had somebody online say I was insane for that. And I'm like, for what? Wanting to make sure we get the right person in, Democrat or Republican? So.
There used to be a YouTube video of this. And I'm not seeing the dang one that I wanted to.
Of course not. Not on YouTube.
No, I'm pretty sure YouTube scrubbed it. They used to have a video on YouTube actually where a guy went in. He had his the program paper or whatever, and he says, "Oh yeah, you can put it in here," and he ran it through, updated the program on the computer, and then he took, I think it was 100 ballots, and he went through and he showed each one of the 100 ballots, and he says, "I have 50 for this one and 50 for this one. What is the result going to be?" Well, it's going to be 50-50. It's going to be a tie.
Right.
He's like, "Nope, this person's going to win." Ran them through, sure as shit, 51-49.
Yep.
And I'm like, So a guy made a video showing that you could do this, and it got made on YouTube. But then after the 2020 election, now I can't find the damn video anymore.
Weird.
I'm not saying it's happening.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that there is evidence that a guy put out where he showed 50 of one and 50 of two.
Right. I might be saying it's happening. Look, why are those machines online? Why are those machines online?
They're behind a
voting night?
firewall.
Great.
Yeah.
Why are they online? Because if they're online, they have the potential to be hacked into from anywhere in the world.
They're behind a firewall.
Again, I don't care who the winner is. I want the right I want the correct person who actually won, who actually reflects the votes of the people. I want them to be the one who represents the country,
so you
even
want
if
a
it's the
democracy.
guy I don't like.
So you want a democracy?
A representative republic?
Well, that's what we technically are.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yes.
Well, I'm using the term democracy to poke fun at the fact that Democrats, who you would think would be supportive of what your stance is, because you're asking for what they're saying that they want.
Quite literally, yes. Yeah.
But they don't want they want theirs.
Yeah.
Right. They don't want your democracy. They want their democracy.
Right. Well, their democracy is different than ours.
Well, that's true. Yeah. That's why they always say our democracy is under attack.
Yes.
It's because their democracy is what they want. Everyone else lives under a constitutional republic.
Donald Trump is the biggest threat to democracy.
To their democracy.
Right. So that makes a lot more sense.
You got to listen to how they word things sometimes, man.
Yeah. I didn't think of that.
They tell you the playbook. They don't.
It's true.
We have two different opposing political views. One is the constitutional republic, which is what you and I more subscribe to.
Right.
Than the how would you refer to that? Almost as a technocracy democracy. I guess it might be the better way to word that.
Yeah, and here's where flat out democracy, where it doesn't quite work. Look, again, going back to worldview, I believe every person has value. However, people, when you get them together, are not smart.
Well, no.
On an individual basis, everybody I talk to is smart. I go to homes. I'm talking to people all the time. When I talk to people on a one-on-one basis, a lot of them are very, very smart. However, there's something that happens when you get people together in a collective. They just become stupid, and I don't know what it is. I lived in Denver.
It's called mob mentality.
Yes.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Mob mentality.
Yeah.
But you are 100% right.
Yeah.
It's people. Most people are not leaders. Most people tend to be followers.
True.
So when you start getting them into large collections, the mob mentality really does come out, because the strong natural leadership ones start influencing the ones that are more naturally followers.
True. That is true. And I guess that kind of makes sense with all the case studies where, they've done a couple of them where a guy walks into a room and there's 20 people ahead of him, and they put up a red sign and they're like, "Hey, what color is this?" And the 19 people in front of him say blue, and then he says blue because he doesn't want to be the weirdo.
Yep.
Me, I'm just stubborn.
Oh,
it's not that I'm a leader, and it's not that I'm smart. It's just that I'm stubborn. I'm like, I would have been like, y'all ain't trying to tell me that that's not red. y'all are crazy.
So what's interesting is, right, you go into a room with 20 people, they have 19 are paid
Right.
to make that one, and then they filter one out and put another one in.
Right.
And eventually you get all the ones that are paid to say it's blue out, and
Right.
it continues on.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because people want to conform.
Right.
It's so weird.
Yeah, you don't want to be the only one that's sitting out on the outside. People have a natural tendency to want to belong.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, when you're comfortable in who you are and when you're comfortable and you've already found that community, I don't care what strangers think of me. Like in a good way I do. Like I care about you, but as far as like you caring what I look like or my hair color or my beard or my shoes, I don't care what anybody thinks of me. And that took me a while.
We lost that light now too.
And it took me a while to learn, and I don't know if it's age, but man, I want to get to that level of the 80-year-old guy on the porch in his boxer shorts. Like just not caring at all what anybody thinks. You know what I mean?
That'd be great. So something along the lines of with the mob mentality and doing that, and going back to direct democracies, the reason why mob mentalities or direct democracies are bad is because of mob mentalities, right? So if there was 10 of us in here or 11 of us in here, and you had $1 million and all of us only had one, and we 10 vote against your one,
Right.
that your $1 million is going to be split equally amongst everyone. You're obviously not going to be happy. Everyone else is going to be happy, right?
Right.
So that's the beauty of a constitutional republic, is you start separating off of what a mob would do to
Right.
you.
Right.
So
Yeah.
our founders, while not perfect, definitely had a great idea of how to make things move forward. That and they built in. Oh, we lost that light now too, guys. We've been going for a while.
Yeah.
Grant, our forefathers were not the most moral in today's standards.
Sure.
However, they were smart enough to build in the Constitution ways to rectify the issues that we were going to have.
Yep.
The problem that we've ran into in the U.S. is a lot of times we, instead of dealing with the problem because it's a hard, complicated problem to deal with, we kick the can down the road.
Yeah.
That's what happened with the formation of the United States. Slavery was wanted to be outlawed by, I think, 5 of the 13.
Yeah.
Or was it 6 of the 13 original colonies that became states? But because they could not win against the British without having all the support, they went ahead and kicked the can down the road.
Right.
And then we ended up fighting the Civil War over
Right.
it, which then went ahead and kicked the can down the road, and we had the Civil Rights Movement, right?
Right.
Which then went ahead and kicked the can down the road a little bit more.
Yeah.
So we as humans want to take the easy road.
Yes.
But the nice thing about our system is it did put in implementation, or it put in mechanisms that we could implement to fix our problems.
Right. Which are now trying to be torn down. You know, they
Oh,
want
yeah.
they want to add more Supreme Court justices, and it's like, well, we don't like the result. It's so that's why the check isn't there for you to like the result. The check is there to make sure that you're not subverting the system.
Yes.
To get what you want.
Yep.
Look, we're always going to have at least two sides as far as politically goes, if not more. You know, like you said, the libertarian position, the independent position, a lot of those aren't represented fairly in our country.
No.
But ultimately, hey, just because you don't like the results doesn't mean you get to cheat the system. The reason the system is there is so that we can make sure that this whole thing doesn't go dark.
Yep.
And when we start subverting rules to get what we want, that's when we throw things into chaos. And they want to talk about Trump being the biggest threat to our democracy. If you want to subvert the Supreme Court and how it's functioned for how long now?
I think it hasn't had a change in 98 years, something like that.
Yeah. If you want to subvert the system of the Supreme Court, guess what? You're the one trying to subvert democracy. You're the one trying to tear down and destroy democracy, not the guy with the orange hair. Sorry.
100% agree. We're at hour 5.
All right.
We should probably end it,
Sounds good.
especially since we lost the lights.
Everything.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Yep.
Thank you for watching. Till next time.
Peace.